joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Ifeni, the great Malabite, who went on leave for 1 month and came back. Good. You went on leave 2023 to 2024. Well, okay, first time I'm seeing you this year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Ruben. The last time I saw you, you were in the cold. And I wanted to say, how can I send aboniki to my friend Ruben?
No, you know that evening, I went and ordered the pepper soup in the hotel. But it was not our kind of pepper soup. I asked for soup. The man asked me, should I put some spice in it? I said yes, but the spice was not the kind of spice. But it's okay.
Yeah. Well, you see why you have to bloom.
Back to sunshine.
Bloom where you are planted. Yeah. This is your land, Ruben. And we're happy here. We're here.
We're lucky with the sunshine.
Yes. We'll start the review. Yes, we'll start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. We start with the story above the lead. Air crash that killed Atahiru linked to terror financiers. Retired general claims. Wants Tinubu to probe crash. Yes, the air crash. Former GOC, one div, Major General Danjuma Ali Kefi made that statement in an exclusive interview with This Day newspaper, and is urging President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to revisit that crash, the crash that killed Lieutenant General Ibrahim Atahiru, then Chief of Army Staff. I think that happened May 2021. Clearly, before that crash, General Atahiru Ibrahim was on the heels of the terrorists, because having assumed office as Chief of Army Staff, after all the clamor for President Muhammadu Buhari to change the service chiefs, he came with zest, gusto, and I think he had some strategy. And what we're hearing now from this retired general is that that crash was not just an accident. There was more to it than an accident. And he attributed that crash to the handiwork of sponsors of terrorism. And of course, there were investigations, but no reports were published. I think the first thing to do is to unearth that report wherever it is, and the President Tinubu administration should go ahead and get to the root of this matter. You are asking the terror sponsors. Recall that the government of UAE handed over a list of terror sponsors to the government of President Muhammadu Buhari. Nothing came out of that list. Nobody was taken to court on account of terror sponsorship. So if those persons are now being said to be behind the crash that killed the Chief of Army Staff then we should have a second look at that event, and I think that's what nations that are serious do, and Nigeria is a serious nation. And President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I think the ball is now in his court. Well, I wouldn't ask the general why he's speaking now, the retired general, why he's speaking now. Perhaps he has spoken earlier, he wouldn't be alive to continue with whatever he's saying. So it's never too late to go back to that accident, which from this statement from a retired GOC of one day is not just another accident that happened. Now, the Economist, kidnappers are wreaking havoc in Nigeria, says defense budget falling in real time, laments many politicians seem keener to spend on themselves rather than create the conditions for peace or fill the country's fiscal hole. Federal government, a lot has been done that goes unreported, a lot more in the works to tackle insecurity. Where the Economist is writing what we know in Nigeria, what we report every day, and perhaps with a foreign voice being added to these reports, perhaps the government need to wake up and do more. Because right now, in the last 6 months or thereabouts of the Tinubu administration, well, insecurity has not improved. Rather, it's worsening, and insecurity getting close to the seat of government, as we have seen in the cases in and around Abuja. Now, the Guardian newspaper, skepticism over inflation, insecurity, economic outlook. Of course, no matter what good intentions the government has to woo investors, with the level of kidnapping and insecurity is bound to have negative effect on whatever efforts the government is making. Now, the Punch newspaper also on this story. Kidnapping epidemic, banks enabling rapid growth of abduction industry. Experts, Nigerians demand more from Tinubu security chiefs. Abuja family confirms ransom payment. Now, if we go to the Leadership newspaper, well, not good news in terms of how it affects Nigerians. Fuel subsidy removal, hardship persists 5 months after 72 billion naira palliatives. And if you recall, 2 billion naira was given to each of the 36 states. 5 months, millions of citizens still face with hardship after 5 months. Of course, the Business Day newspaper, larger deficit looms with 1.6 trillion naira electricity subsidy. Of course, the government has said, well, it cannot remove subsidy for electricity. So in the year 2024, the government will be subsidizing electricity with a sum of 1.6 trillion naira. Of course, this is a budget that has a lot of deficit, and the government will be borrowing to do a number of things, including perhaps, certainly, the subsidy on electricity. Now, if we just look at the Daily Sun newspaper, more job losses loom. Multinationals exit put federal government's 3 trillion naira tax revenue, thousands of jobs at risk. More firms may exit soon, according to a report. Now, below the photograph there, blame parents for illegal degree awarding universities. NUC warned varsities will lose accreditation if they cheat. Well, some parents are desperate to get any kind of degree for their children. Well, that's what the NUC is saying. So the supervisory authorities need to do more, but parents who are so desperate to get anything called certificate for their wards are also culpable. The Vanguard newspaper, wrong time to fall sick in Nigeria as cost of medicine skyrocket. Patients lament, skip medication, seek alternative treatment. Experts worry, propose urgent solutions. Of course, last Friday, it was reported by the Business Day newspaper that many Nigerians now go for local alternative, agbo, as they call it in local parlance. Now, the New Telegraph newspaper, relocation of CBN fan offices to Lagos, ploy to underdeveloped North, Arewa Consultative Forum making that allegation. Now, if we look at Abuja Inquirer, 11 Abuja residents regain freedom. Wreaking unveils plan against bandits. Police rescue one. Of course, the police and the army, yes, rescuing some of those victims. The family, that's 5 of their children, their daughters were taken into captivity. Well, they can afford to celebrate now, even though they lost one in that process. And we had that exclusive interview with the father of those girls, who was also in captivity. I hope the security agencies can take a lot from that interview or from talking to him, because clearly we have ungoverned spaces in this country where kidnappers have their own kingdoms and they reign and carry out all kinds of atrocities. Now, the foreign newspapers quickly. The Guardian newspaper of UK, surge in modern slavery in social care sector since visa rules ease. Shocking rise in cases of exploitation after change to fill vacancies. Of course, they relaxed the rule to bring in social care workers in the UK, but this report is saying that over 800 people are at the verge of modern slavery because they are working in harsh conditions. They are cramped in rooms, people staying in cramped rooms, and they barely get part of their payment. So the NHS and the councils have been urged to scrutinize and check the activities of private firms. Ruben, Rufai, and Ayo.
I want to talk about a story on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper that says ways and means exacerbated the problem of inflation. And it's very true. And what is even more shocking for me in the recent...
Okay, I think that's the second lead.
Yeah.
The second lead of
So I think what is even more shocking for me in the recent discovery we're seeing is the fact that these monies were not judiciously spent. We saw a memo where somebody was saying COVID-19 money should be used for verification of register. And you wonder what's going on in this country. All sorts of monies that were being shared. For instance, one of the monies that were being shared or that were alleged to have been put in a private account was the money that was said to have been marked to be able to build a vaccination center.
Yeah.
Only to think that was how the ways and means was spent, which is a sad indictment of our country, because the way these monies have been printed, you can see now, we can't account for it. And it has hurt people. I'd like to ask, where are the hospital beds? But I hear we have to go because of time.
Yeah, we're out of time. We wish we could delve into that deeper, but I'm sure that would have time perhaps in the course of the show or at a later date. Thank you so much, Mr. Efe.